The Map of the Soul. Tonight, as you settle in, we begin an exploration of Jung's hidden revelations about fate. What if your life is not a series of random choices, but a story already written, a path laid out, hidden not in the stars, but in the most inaccessible parts of your own mind? As your body begins to find its rest, as the sounds of the day fade into the quiet of this room, allow your mind to remain open, receptive. We are not just relaxing the body. We are preparing the mind to understand the invisible script that guides your every day. What if, by the time you drift towards sleep, you finally recognize the author? You believe you are navigating an uncharted world, making choices as they come. But Carl Jung's life work suggests you are carrying a map. You just haven't learned how to read it. He called this map the Psyche, the totality of your mind, and it is far vaster than the small, lit room of your conscious awareness. This you that you call I, the part of you listening to my voice, the part that worries about tomorrow and remembers yesterday. This is the ego. Jung saw the ego as just one small island in a boundless ancient ocean. This ocean, which surrounds the island, which shapes its shores and dictates its climate, is the unconscious. We are taught to fear this ocean, to build our homes in the center of the island, and never walk near the churning dark water. But Jung's entire philosophy is built on a simple, terrifying truth. The ocean is moving the land. The currents, the tides, the unseen tectonic shifts beneath the water, these are what shape your coastline. Your fate is often just your conscious ego taking credit for a change that the unconscious ocean demanded. Think of that moment in your life when you suddenly changed course. A sudden, irrational decision to quit a job, move to a new city, or end a long-term relationship, which you later explained to yourself and others with perfect rational logic. Jung would smile at this. He would suggest the logic came after. The decision was made for you, deep beneath the surface, by a current you weren't even aware of. This map of the soul is not a map to a destination. It is the territory. It is the totality of you. It includes the ego. Yes, but it also includes the personal unconscious, a vast repository of your forgotten memories, your suppressed feelings, and beneath that, a layer infinitely deeper, the collective unconscious, an ocean of shared human memory, instincts, and blueprints that we all inherit. This map shows that your personality, your anxieties, your luck, are not random. They are features of this vast inner landscape. The map shows the mountains of inherited trauma, the rivers of forgotten memory, and the hidden valleys of your greatest unlived potential. To see this map is the first step in understanding your destiny. It is the realization that you are not just the small, frightened person on the island. You are also the ocean. You are the map. And the map is not your prison. It is the first clue to your freedom. The archetypes. If the unconscious is the ocean, what are the currents? Jung called them the archetypes. These are the original blueprints of human experience, the psychic software we are all born with. They are the riverbeds of the mind, carved into the collective human psyche over millions of years. Your personal experience is the water, unique to you, colored by your life, your culture, your family. But the direction it flows is almost always guided by these ancient, preformed channels. Where do your ideas of the hero come from? Or the mother? Or the wise old man? Or the trickster? These are not your personal memories. You were not taught these concepts. You were born knowing them. You knew what a mother was before you could even speak the word. You understood the hero's journey instinctively the first time you heard a fairy tale, and this is where your destiny becomes entangled. You think you are making a personal, unique choice, but you are often just stepping into an ancient, pre-written role. Your fate is determined by which of these archetypal scripts has unconsciously possessed your conscious mind. When you are consumed by righteous anger, needing to fight every injustice you see, the warrior archetype is active. When you are sacrificing your own needs to save everyone around you, becoming resentful as you do, the martyr archetype is in control. When you are paralyzed by endless analysis, unable to commit to a path, you are in the grip of the scholar. These forces are not you. They are ancient, impersonal, transpersonal energies that use you as a vessel. They are the gods and goddesses of the old myths, still living, still breathing, and still demanding their due from within your modern mind. Look at the stories you are drawn to, the movies or books that resonate so deeply they ache. Look at the people you admire, or the people you irrationalmente despise. They are not just stories or people. They are mirrors. You are seeing the archetypes that are living, breathing, and struggling inside of you. Your destiny is shaped by which of these ancient stories you are unconsciously performing in your own modern life. You cannot destroy the archetypes. You cannot erase the riverbeds. To try is to invite chaos, a psychic flood. But you can become aware of them. You can learn their names. You can see the script. And when you see the script, you are no longer just the actor. Unconsciously reading the lines, believing it is your own will, you become the audience. You gain the terrifying, beautiful power to choose how you play the new role. Your life is not the first time this story has been told, but it is the only time it will be told as you. The shadow. There is a second you. A you that lives in the dark, just behind your shoulder. A you that feels all the things you swear you do not feel. A you that thinks the thoughts you cannot admit to. A you that desires what you find repulsive. A you that holds all the power, all the rage, and all the vulnerability you cannot afford to show the world. This, Jung said, is your shadow. It is the part of your map that you have torn up and buried, hoping no one, not even you, would ever find it. The shadow is a psychic bag you have been carrying since you were a child. Into this bag, you, your parents, your teachers, your society, stuffed every part of yourself that was deemed unacceptable. Your anger was bad. Your selfishness was wrong. Your vulnerability was weak. Your creative impulses were a waste of time. Your authentic self, in all its messy, chaotic glory, was systematically edited, shamed, and punished. So you exiled these parts of yourself, believing you had gotten rid of them. But you did not. They did not go away. They just clustered together in the dark, and they grew. They formed a separate, autonomous personality in your unconscious, a second you that is resentful, angry, and desperate to be seen. Now here's the hidden revelation about fate. Your destiny is not what you choose. Your destiny is what you project. Because you refuse to see the shadow in yourself, you are fated. You are doomed to meet it in the outside world. The people you irrationally hate, the ones who make your skin crawl with a visceral, inexplicable anger, they are not your enemies. They are mirrors. They are simply living out the parts of yourself that you have refused to look at. You are not angry at them. You are angry at your own exiled self. Your bad luck is often your own shadow, engineering your life from the outside to force you to confront it. You are fated to meet that same type of boss who is always arrogant, that same type of partner who is always too passive, that same type of friend who always betrays you. The pattern repeats because the lesson has not been learned. The world will keep sending you messengers, each one a reflection of your own shadow, until you finally stop, turn around, and look at what has been chasing you. The shadow is not evil. It is just unlived. It holds your deepest shame, yes, but it also holds your greatest power. It is the gold in the dark. It holds your rawest creativity, your most profound authenticity, your boundaries, your strength. To embrace your shadow, to own it, is to take back your power from the world. It is to become whole. And a whole person is no longer a puppet of fate. They are fate. If you're still listening, you're part of the few who want to understand, not just hear. Hit like you've earned this point. Anima and Animus. Have you ever felt it? The shock of recognition. The thunderbolt. The overwhelming, irrational feeling of, I have known you my entire life, upon meeting a complete stranger. It is a feeling of destiny, pure and undeniable. What if, in that moment, you were not meeting them? What if you were meeting a lost, ancient part of your own soul? Jung called this the soul image. He proposed that every psyche contains a contrasexual element, an inner archetype of the other. For a man, this is the anima, the unconscious feminine within his psyche. For a woman, this is the animus, the unconscious masculine. This is not a literal inner man or woman. It is an internal portrait, a composite archetype that is both personal and collective. It is an image of the soul itself. Its first layer is painted by the first and most powerful other you ever knew, your mother or your father. Then it is painted over again and again by siblings, by heroes in stories, by cultural expectations, by first loves, by deep betrayals. This complex, shifting, unconscious portrait of the other becomes the invisible standard against which you measure every real person you meet. And this is where destiny becomes a trap. You believe you are searching for a partner. You are not. You are unconsciously searching for the one person in the real world who matches the portrait. This is the feeling of fated love. It is overwhelming, magical, and divine, but it is an illusion. It is a projection. You have draped this perfect godlike image of your own soul onto a real, flawed, ordinary human being. You are not in love with them. You are in love with a missing part of yourself. And when the real person inevitably fails to live up to the impossible standard of the projection, when they are revealed to be merely human, when they fail to be the god or goddess you unconsciously demanded, the fated love becomes a doomed love. The magic vanishes. The resentment begins. This is why you may have a type. This is why you may find yourself falling for the same person in a different body, repeating the same tragic pattern over and over. You are not choosing them. Your anima or animus is. Your fated relationship is often just a classroom, designed by your unconscious to teach you about this hidden part of yourself. The true journey, the path of individuation, is not to find the anima or animus in another person. It is to integrate it. It is to withdraw the projection. For a man, to connect with his own capacity for feeling, intuition, and receiving. For a woman, to connect with her own capacity for logic, assertion, and action. When you stop projecting your soul onto others, you are finally free to see them for who they truly are. And you are finally free to become whole, to love from a place of completeness, not of need. The persona. What is that face you wear? The one you show to your colleagues at work, The one that smiles at parties, the one that is patient and capable and strong. You call it me. But is it? You move through your day as if you are an actor who has been handed a script. You know your lines. You know your role. The good employee, the caring mother, the logical skeptic, the successful professional. You wear the appropriate costume, you speak in the expected voice, and you perform your part so well that you are rewarded for it. Society applauds your performance. This mask, this social uniform that you present to the world, is what Jung called the persona. The word comes from the Greek term for the masks worn by actors in ancient theater. It is the public-facing version of you. A carefully curated interface designed for one purpose: survival. It is the ultimate tool for navigating the collective world. It is not inherently bad. It is necessary. A surgeon needs a persona of calm authority. A teacher needs a persona of patient knowledge. It is the armor that protects your vulnerable, true self from the judgments and demands of a complex society. But here lies one of the most subtle and dangerous traps of human destiny. The problem is not having a persona. The problem is forgetting you are wearing one. The mask is useful, but it is made of a material that hardens with time. With every compliment you receive for your performance, with every promotion, with every like, the mask adheres a little more tightly. It fuses to your skin. After 10, 20, 40 years of playing the same role, a terrifying moment arrives. You go home, you close the door, you are alone, and you try to take the mask off, and it will not budge. You have become the role. You no longer know where the mask ends, and you begin. This is the tragedy of the modern, successful individual. They have achieved a life they do not feel. They are living a fated life, yes, but it is a false destiny. It is the destiny of the persona, not the destiny of the soul. You find yourself hollowed out, an empty shell, living the life everyone expected of you, not the one you were meant to live. The unconscious, in its wisdom, will not tolerate this for long. It will send you dreams of suffocation, of being naked in public, of being an imposter. And if you ignore the dreams, your shadow, the part you abandoned to create the mask, will rise up and sabotage your perfect life. Your fate becomes a revolt against your own inauthenticity. The path of individuation demands a painful separation. It is the slow, agonizing process of peeling the mask away from your skin, of finding the face you had before the world told you who to be. Individuation. What is the purpose? What is the point of this struggle? Of confronting the shadow, of withdrawing the projections of the anima or animus, of recognizing the prison of the persona. Is it to be happy? Is it to be fixed? Jung's answer was no. The purpose is not happiness, but wholeness. And this process, this divine and terrifying life's work, he called individuation. It is the journey of becoming an individual, a self that is no longer divided against itself. It is the process of gathering all the lost, exiled, and projected parts of your map of the soul, the shadow, the anima, animus, the ego, the persona, and bringing them all into conscious relationship with the center. It is the path of becoming the person you were, always, in your deepest nature, meant to be. This is not a self-help path. It is not about finding your bliss or becoming your best self. That is the language of the ego, which always wants to improve and perfect. Individuation is an alchemical process. It is not about adding anything to you. It is about burning away everything that is false. It is the Negredo, the darkening we will speak of later. where your old identity, your persona, your illusions are dissolved into blackness. It requires confronting the parts of you that are monstrous. It requires embracing the parts of you that are divine. It requires, most of all, the courage to be who you are, even if it disappoints everyone you know. Think of an acorn. The acorn's destiny is not to become a better acorn. It is not to become a pine tree or a rose bush. Its fate, its telos, is to become an oak tree. It already contains the complete blueprint. Its entire work is to draw from the dark soil, the unconscious, and reach for the light, consciousness, and grow into the specific, unique oak it was always encoded to be. Individuation is this. It is your soul's unique blueprint. It is a revolutionary, countercultural act. We live in a world of collective conformity, a world that demands you be a persona, a statistic, a consumer, a label. Individuation is the defiant, sacred refusal. It is the lonely path. To find your true self, you must often walk away from the tribe. You must disappoint the people who loved your mask. This is the ultimate shift in destiny. It is the move from a collective fate, being unconsciously lived by the archetypes, to a personal fate, where you consciously partner with the archetypes. You are no longer just an actor reading a script. You are the co-author of your own personal myth. It is not a goal you reach one day. It is the path itself. It is the opus, the great work. It is the only journey that truly matters. Synchronicity. You have felt it. A coincidence so perfect, so impossibly timed, that it chilled you. You are struggling with a profound life question, and a book falls off a shelf, opening to the exact page that holds your answer. You think of a name, a person you haven't seen in 20 years, and in that exact moment, your phone rings, and it is them. You have a disturbing dream about a rare animal, and the next day, you see that animal on a billboard. Your rational mind, your ego, rushes in to dismiss it. It's just confirmation bias, it says. It's just a random anomaly. But your soul knows better. You have just touched the machinery of fate. Jung called this synchronicity, and it was his most radical, world-changing idea. He defined it as a causal connecting principle. It is a moment where the inner world of your psyche and the outer world of physical reality align in a way that is not based on cause and effect. It is based on meaning. It is a glitch in the matrix that reveals the code. It is the proof that the map of the soul and the map of the universe are not two separate things. They are one. Jung's most famous example occurred with a patient, a woman who was trapped in a hyper-rational Cartesian worldview. She was telling Jung a dream she'd had about a golden scarab. At that exact moment, Jung heard a gentle tapping at the window. He turned, opened it, and caught the insect that flew in. It was a golden-green scarab beetle, the closest analog to her dream insect in his part of the world. He handed it to her and said, "Here is your scarab." The shock of this impossible event broke her rational prison. It forced her to accept that there was another logic, a soul logic, operating just beneath the surface of reality. This is not the law of attraction. You are not causing these events to happen. It is not about getting what your ego wants, like a new car or a specific job. Synchronicity is the self, the greater, wiser center of your psyche, communicating with you. It is the universe providing a signpost, a moment of profound, undeniable confirmation. Yes, it whispers. You are on the right path. Pay attention. Look here. When you begin the path of individuation, when you start to listen to your dreams and confront your shadow, the frequency of these events increases. They are the breadcrumbs of your destiny, left by your own deeper intelligence to guide you home. What if these coincidences are not accidents at all? What if they are the primary language that fate uses to speak to you? The self. We have spoken of the ego, the small light of your conscious mind. We have spoken of the shadow, the darkness you exiled. We have spoken of the Anima and Animus, the soul image you project. We have spoken of the persona, the mask you show the world. But who or what is the you that is aware of all these parts? Who is the watcher? Who is the dreamer of your dreams? This central organizing intelligence, this totality of your psyche, Jung called the self. If your ego is the earth, the self is the sun. The earth, your ego, believes it is the center of everything. It believes it is in charge. It creates logic. It makes plans. It worries. It strives. But it is, and always has been, in silent, unbreakable orbit around a greater, more powerful, more luminous center. The self is the island in the ocean. It is the totality of the map of the soul. It is the God image within you. Jung was clear. This is not an intellectual concept. You cannot know the self with your ego any more than your eye can see itself. The ego can only experience the self's influence as an overwhelming, numinous event. It is the force that compels you toward individuation. It is the source of synchronicity. It is the author of your dreams. It is the voice of your inner call. This is why, in cultures all over the world, for all of human history, the self has been expressed in universal symbols. The most powerful of these is the mandala, the sacred, balanced, geometric circle. The self is the center point, and all the warring opposites of your psyche, light and dark, masculine and feminine, conscious and unconscious, order and chaos, are contained and balanced perfectly within its circle. It is the symbol of ultimate wholeness. We search for this feeling of wholeness everywhere. We search for it in fated relationships. We search for it in career success. We search for it in religion. We search for it in addiction. We are desperately trying to find in the outside world the feeling of home that can only be found by connecting with this inner center. The entire purpose of your life, the final destination of your fate, is to bring your ego into proper relationship with the self. It is the quest to stop the ego from playing God, and for it to instead become the humble, willing servant of this greater, wiser, divine totality. When this alignment happens, you are no longer living your small, frightened life. You are being lived by the self. You are a conscious vessel for your own destiny, and that is the moment you become truly free. Dreams. Where do you go when you sleep? You believe you are simply offline, your mind powered down, a passive witness to nonsensical, random images fired by a resting brain. The modern world has taught you that dreams are just neurological trash, the defragmentation of your mental hard drive. But for Jung, this was a profound, catastrophic misunderstanding. He believed that to ignore your dreams is to tear out half the pages from your map of the soul. Dreams are not meaningless noise. They are the primary, uncensored, and brutally honest language of yourself. They are the nightly report from the vast, wise ocean of the unconscious, delivered to the small, frightened island of your ego. But the ego doesn't speak this language. The unconscious does not communicate in the direct, logical prose of your waking life. It speaks in the ancient native tongue of the psyche, the language of symbol, of metaphor, of myth. It is a language you knew before you learn to speak. This is why dreams are so often bizarre, illogical, and surreal. They are not hiding the meaning. They are expressing the meaning in the only way they know how. The dream is a psychic photograph, a snapshot of your inner reality at that exact moment. The you in the dream is not your ego. It is a character, a part of you, acting out a drama. The house you dream of is not just a house. It is a symbol of your psyche. Are you discovering a new, beautiful room? Or is the basement flooding? The car you are driving is not a car. It is a symbol of your ego's control. Are you in the driver's seat? Or are you in the back, terrified, as someone or something else is driving? Are the brakes failing? To understand your dreams is to hold a compass that points directly to your destiny. The self, your inner totality, is constantly sending you messages to correct the imbalances of your waking life. If your ego is too arrogant, your dreams will send you images of humiliation. If your ego is too timid, your dreams will send you images of power, perhaps of a lion or a tidal wave. These are compensatory messages. The dream is the psyche's desperate attempt to show you the parts of yourself you are ignoring, the shadow you are projecting, the potential you are refusing. It is the guide to your individuation. Jung called dreams the small, hidden door in the innermost and most secret recess of the soul. He believed they were the royal road to the unconscious. Every night, your destiny is speaking to you. It is telling you where you are out of balance. It is showing you the wound that needs healing. It is warning you of a path that leads to a dead end. It is pointing you toward the gold in your own darkness. To ignore this nightly guidance is to choose to walk blind. To learn the language of your dreams is to gain an inner oracle, a guide that has only one goal: to make you whole. The complexes? Have you ever overreacted to something? A small comment from a colleague, a specific tone of voice from your partner, a minor inconvenience. And suddenly, you are not just annoyed, you are consumed. A white-hot, disproportionate rage or a sudden cold abyss of despair takes you over. In that moment, you are not there. Your rational mind is gone, hijacked. You have become a puppet, and an unseen hand is pulling the strings. This, Jung said, is the complex. It is one of his most vital and practical concepts. If the shadow is the exiled landmass of your psyche, a complex is a psychic knot. It is a cluster of memories, emotions, and thoughts, all tangled up and supercharged with energy, orbiting a single archetypal core. The most common one, which Freud identified, is the Oedipus complex, or Electra complex, centered on the archetype of the parent. But we have hundreds. You may have a power complex, an inferiority complex, a savior complex, or a victim complex. These knots are formed in our personal history, usually in childhood when we experience an emotional shock or trauma. A moment of intense shame, fear, or pain is so overwhelming that the ego cannot process it. So it splinters that piece of your psyche off. But the energy doesn't go away. It just becomes autonomous. It becomes a little sub-personality, a ghost in the machine with its own agenda and its own will. And its agenda is to avoid that original pain at all costs and to seek its own fulfillment. This is where your fate is hijacked. You think you are a single I. You are not. You are a multiplicity, a collection of these complexes, all vying for control of your conscious mind. Your ego is the king who believes he rules the kingdom, but he is surrounded by powerful, invisible, and very persuasive advisors. The complex is the mechanism that ensures your fated patterns repeat. When you are triggered, it is because an event in the real world has touched that raw, splintered nerve. The complex then explodes from the unconscious, seizes the throne of your ego, and reacts. It is not you who is shouting. It is the inferiority complex, the inner 5-year-old who was shamed, finally screaming, "I am not stupid." The complex is the engine of your shadow projection. It is the complex that chooses your partners, forcing you to find someone who will trigger the familiar pain of your father complex or mother complex in a desperate, tragic attempt to finally fix the original wound. To become free, to claim your destiny, you must do the work of disarming these complexes. You cannot destroy them, but you can bring them into the light. You can see the knot. You can understand its origin. You can feel the original pain, consciously, without being possessed by it. When you do this, the complex loses its autonomous power. It stops being the puppeteer and becomes, simply, a part of your known history. You take your throne back. You stop reacting, and you finally gain the freedom to choose.
The Red Book. For 16 years, Carl Jung, the brilliant founder of analytical psychology, was not a scientist. He was a mystic, he was an explorer, and he was, perhaps, mad. Following a terrifying break with his father figure, Sigmund Freud, and amidst the rising chaos of World War I, Jung's own psyche shattered. The floor of his rational mind gave way, and he was plunged into the ocean of the collective unconscious. He was besieged by visions, by voices, by figures who claimed to be gods and demons. He believed he was bordering on psychosis. He had two choices: dismiss it as madness and medicate himself back to the persona of the sane Dr. Jung, or turn, face the abyss, and enter it as a conscious explorer. He chose the latter, and for 16 years, he meticulously documented this journey into the underworld of his own soul. He recorded his visions, his dialogues, his terrifying and beautiful encounters in a massive, leather-bound, illuminated manuscript. He painted his mandalas. He wrote in calligraphy. He treated it as a sacred text. This is Liber Novus, the Red Book. For nearly a century, this book was a secret. It was hidden away by his family, a madman's journal, too personal, too strange, too mystical to be revealed. But when it was finally published in 2009, it changed everything. It revealed the source of his entire life's work. The Red Book is not a theory about the archetypes, the shadow, the anima, and the self. It is the raw, unfiltered record of Jung meeting them. He did not invent these concepts. He encountered them. He dialogued with his shadow, a figure he called Philemon. He confronted the emptiness of his scientific persona. He wrestled with his anima, Salome. The Red Book is the ultimate proof of his own method. It is the testament that the psyche is not a thing to be studied from a safe, objective distance. It is a world to be entered. It is a dangerous, living, autonomous reality, filled with intelligent beings who have their own purpose. It is the map of his own individuation. Why does this matter for your destiny? Because the Red Book is not just Jung's story. It is the story of every human soul that dares to go beyond the veil of the persona. It is a map for your journey. It teaches that your destiny is not found in the sunlit, rational, normal world. It is found in the dark. It is found in the madness you hide. It is found in the visions you dismiss. It is found by having the courage to speak to the demons inside you and ask them what they want. It is the ultimate personal myth. Jung's fate was to sacrifice his scientific persona to become the first true psychopomp of the modern age, the guide to the soul, and to do that, he first had to map his own. Active imagination. How do you do it? If dreams are messages, if complexes are knots, if the Red Book is the map, how do you begin your own journey? How do you speak to the figures in your unconscious? Jung developed a method. It is not meditation. It is not prayer. It is not simple visualization. It is a technique he called active imagination. It is perhaps the most powerful and dangerous tool he ever created. It is the practical method for entering your own red book, where dreaming is a passive witnessing of the unconscious. Active imagination is a conscious, deliberate, and active engagement with it. You do not just watch the dream, you enter it. You speak to the figures within it. You start with a portal, perhaps a lingering, powerful image from a dream, a face, a dark doorway, a winding staircase. Or you can start with a somatic bridge, a physical ache in your chest, a knot in your throat. You quiet your conscious ego, your rational commentator, and you focus on this image or feeling. You give it your full attention. You let it grow, move, take shape, and then you step into the scene. You are now lucid within your own psychic landscape, and the figures are there, the Daemon, the shadow, the Anima, the wise old man, and you ask them a question. Who are you? What do you want from me? Why are you causing this pain? And then you listen. You allow the figure to answer, without your ego censoring it, without your rational mind saying, "This is ridiculous, I'm just talking to myself." This, Jung insisted, is the vital point. You are not talking to yourself. You are talking to an autonomous, splintered part of your own psyche, a complex, an archetype that has its own consciousness and its own voice. And its answer may shock you. It may be angry. It may be terrifying. It may be profoundly wise. This is a dialogue. This is how you disarm a complex. You give it the one thing it never had, a voice. You give it your conscious attention. You listen to its pain. You negotiate with it. This is how you integrate the shadow. You do not fight it. You ask it why it is sabotaging your life. This is the ultimate tool for co-authoring your fate. You are no longer a victim of these inner forces. You are a diplomat, an explorer, a negotiator, walking consciously into the council of guides that lives within you. It takes courage. It is the descent into the underworld. You must have a strong ego to anchor you, to not be possessed or overwhelmed by what you find. But it is the difference between being the puppet of your destiny and being the partner of your destiny. You are finally, actively participating in the creation of your own soul. The personal myth. What is the story you tell yourself about yourself? Not the one on your resume, not the one you tell at parties, but the one that plays in the silence just before you fall asleep. The deep, internal narrative that defines your reality. I am the one who always gets left. I am the one who has to hold everything together. I am the outsider, the observer. I am the one who is always too late. This, Jung would say, is your personal myth. It is the unconscious, self-generating story that you are living out day after day. It is the central organizing principle of your life, and you did not consciously write it. This myth is not your identity. It is a script written for you in the ink of your earliest experiences, by the hands of your family, your culture, and your own powerful, unexamined complexes. It is the truth you have built your life around. But is it true, or is it just the story that has been running the longest? This myth dictates your fate. It is a story-shaped filter on your perception. If your personal myth is, I am the victim, you will unconsciously seek out oppressors. You will filter all ambiguous interactions through the lens of being wronged. You will find proof of your victimhood everywhere, not because it is the objective truth, but because your myth demands it. The myth becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Your fate is simply the plot of your personal myth, repeating on a loop. You are fated to meet the same type of person, to have the same bad luck, because you are trapped in the same unexamined story. Your complexes, your shadow, your anima, these are the characters in your myth. The complex is the character who hijacks the story. My father was distant, so I must prove my worth. The shadow is the villain you keep projecting onto others.
The Anima is the idealized soulmate you are fated to search for but never find. This is the destiny of the unexamined life, to be an actor in a play you don't even know you are in. So what is the alternative? The journey of individuation, the purpose of all this work, is not to destroy your myth. You cannot live without a story. The goal is to become a conscious author of it. The Red Book, Block 11, was Jung's journey of discovering his personal myth. He stopped being just the scientist and embraced the myth of the explorer of the soul. This is the great work. It is the process of using active imagination and dream work to excavate the old, limiting, inherited myth. To see it, to understand who wrote it, to feel the pain it was built to protect, and then to begin to rewrite it, to evolve the story. The victim myth can be transformed into the wounded healer myth. The outsider myth can become the wise observer myth. You do not change the facts of your past, but you change their meaning. You change their role in the story. You are no longer defined by what happened to you. You are defined by what you made of it. This is the final freedom. It is the discovery that your fate is not a prison, it is a story. And you, the conscious you, finally have the power to pick up the pen. Freedom and destiny. We are now at the center of the labyrinth, the ultimate paradox that haunted Jung and that haunts every human life. Are you free, or is your life fated? Are you the master of your choices, or are you a puppet, your strings pulled by your genes, your childhood, your complexes, your archetypes? The modern world tells you that you are free, you have limitless choice. But if you are so free, why do you keep repeating the same self-destructive patterns? The old world told you that you were fated. Your life was written by God, or the gods, or the stars. But if you are so fated, why do you feel the agonizing burden of your decisions? Jung's answer is perhaps the most profound of all. He suggests that the answer to, are you free or fated, is yes, you are both. And your entire life's work is to reconcile this contradiction. For most of a life you are fated, but it is an unconscious fate. You are a piece of wood in a powerful river. You are tossed about by the currents of your complexes, by the tides of the collective archetypes. You believe you are choosing to turn left, but it was the current, your mother complex, that pushed you. You believe you are choosing to be angry, but it was the rapids, your shadow, that consumed you. This is the fate of the puppet. It is a life of bad luck and things happening to me. You are fated, yes, but only because you are unconscious. So what is freedom? Freedom is not changing the river. The river is your destiny. It is the telos of your soul. It is flowing to the sea. You cannot stop it. You cannot make it flow uphill. Freedom, Jung would say, is building a boat. Freedom is the conscious act of learning to navigate the current. It is the awareness of the river. It is seeing the rapids, the complex, before you are in them. It is using the river's own energy, the power of the archetype, the strength of the integrated shadow, to steer. The pause, the moment between the trigger and the reaction. That is the birthplace of your freedom. The trigger is fate. The old reaction is fate. But the conscious choice to feel the trigger, to honor its energy, and to not play the old, familiar, destructive role, that is freedom. This is Amor Fati, the love of fate, which we will touch on soon. True freedom is not the power to do whatever you want. That is the immature fantasy of the ego. True freedom is the conscious, willing, and joyous participation in your own necessity. It is the alignment of your conscious ego with the greater, wiser will of the self. Your destiny is to become an oak tree. Your freedom is the choice to be the acorn, to push into the dark soil, to reach for the light. It is the choice to become what you already are. Jung's destiny was to explore the abyss. His freedom was his choice to pick up the pen and write the Red Book, instead of being drowned in the madness. Your freedom is the choice to live the life your soul is calling you to live, not the one your persona demands. The tension of opposites. Why is life so hard? Why is the mind a battlefield? We are taught to seek balance, to find peace, to be good and not bad, to be calm and not angry, to choose light and reject darkness.
Our entire society is built on solving problems, eliminating conflict, and finding the one right answer. But Jung's view is far more radical. He said that the psyche is not a problem to be solved. The psyche is conflict. Life is not about eliminating the opposites. Life is the tension between the opposites, and consciousness itself is born from this fire. He called this enantiodromia, the principle that everything eventually turns into its opposite. If you try to be only good, only selfless, only righteous, your unconscious is building up an equal and opposite charge of badness, of selfishness, of shadow, and it will erupt. It will erupt in a midlife crisis, a sudden destructive act, a fated accident. The harder you push for light, the greater the shadow you cast. Life is not a static state of peace. It is a dynamic, oscillating, living process. And this tension, this war in heaven, is not a mistake. It is the engine of your growth. Think of a bow and arrow. To have any power, the bow must be bent. The string, one opposite, must be pulled taut against the wood, the other opposite. That tension is the potential energy. No tension, no arrow, no tension, no life, no movement. Your ego hates this tension. It wants to solve the paradox. It wants to be either right or wrong, either spiritual or practical, either secure or free. It wants to choose one side and kill the other. This is the source of all neurosis. But the work of individuation is not to choose one side. It is to hold both. It is to have the courage to stand in the fire of that contradiction, consciously, without collapsing. This is the crucifixion of the ego. It is the moment you are trapped between two fated paths. I want to leave this relationship, freedom, but I'm terrified of being alone, security. The ego tries to logic its way out, but the self asks you to wait, to hold the tension, to feel both agonizing poles at the same time. And what happens in that unbearable, crucifying moment? A third thing is born, a transcendent function, a new symbol, a new level of consciousness, a new path forward that is not a compromise, but a transcendence, a way you could not have logicked your way to. Your destiny is not found by choosing A or B. It is found in the impossible third path that is revealed only when you have the courage to hold the unbearable, creative, and divine tension of your own opposites. If you reach this point, it means you don't run from the truth. Subscribe now. Stay close to what few dare to face. The awakening of the symbol. What is this third thing that is born from the fire? When you are trapped, crucified between the opposites, you think in words. Should I stay or should I go? Is this right or is this wrong? You are trying to think your way out, but the answer does not come in words. The answer, Jung said, comes as an image. This is the awakening of the symbol, and it is the only way the psyche can resolve a true paradox. We must first understand what a symbol is. A sign is something we understand. A stop sign simply points to a known command, stop. Its meaning is fixed and it is dead. But a living symbol, Jung's term, is very different. It is an image that emerges from the unconscious. It is alive. It is pregnant with a vast, irrational, and mysterious meaning that cannot be fully explained in words. It is the best possible expression for something that is, as yet, unknown. Think of a dream image that haunts you, one that you cannot shake. A black bird on your shoulder, a key turning in a rusty lock, a spiral staircase descending into water, a child drawing a perfect circle in the sand. Or think of the mandalas Jung himself was compelled to draw. These are not random, these are symbols, they are messengers from the self, and they are born from the tension. When the ego is stretched to its breaking point between two warring opposites, the self sends a symbol as a bridge. This symbol is the alchemical child of the two warring parents. It is not one or the other. It is a unification of both in a new form. It is the third way. This is how your destiny unfolds. You do not plan your individuation. You follow the symbols. You follow the scent of what feels numinous, meaningful, and alive. This is the purpose of active imagination and dream work. You are not analyzing the dream to figure out what it means, as if it were a puzzle. You are incubating the symbol, you are living with it, you are dialoguing with it, you are asking, what do you want from me? The symbol is the compass that points to your true north, the self. When you are lost in your life, your ego looks for a map, a 5-step plan, but your soul looks for a symbol. It looks for the next shining thing in the dark. This is how fate communicates. Your true destiny is not a logical plan. It is a mystery that unfolds, symbol by symbol, from the depths of your own soul. The goal is not to interpret the symbol and kill it with logic, but to follow it, to let it lead you, and to let it transform you. It is the language of God. It is the map of your fate being drawn in real time. Amor Fati, the love of fate. We have walked through the fire of the opposites. We have seen how destiny is not a choice or a script, but a river we must learn to navigate. Now we arrive at the final, most radical state of being, the one that transcends struggle. It is a state of profound, terrifying, and beautiful acceptance. It is a philosophy captured in 2 Latin words, Amor Fati, the love of fate. This concept, most famously articulated by the philosopher Nietzsche, is the secret heartbeat of Jung's entire life's work. It is not passive resignation. It is not the defeated sigh of, I guess this is just my life. It is not making the best of a bad situation. It is an active, joyous, and affirmative embrace of everything. It is the ability to look at your entire life, the triumph and the trauma, the love and the loss, the light and the deepest shadow, and to say without reservation, yes, all of it. I would not have it any other way. I choose this. This is the ultimate goal of individuation. Why? Because the self, your inner totality, is not good. It is whole. It contains the light and the dark. The self is the totality of your fate, the acorn and the soil, the lotus and the mud. To align with the self is to stop judging your life. It is to stop the ego's endless, neurotic game of this part was good, but this part was bad. It is to understand at a cellular level that the bad parts were the precise alchemical ingredients necessary to create the good. The wound was the necessary darkness that forced your roots to grow. The betrayal was the necessary fire that burned away your persona. The bad luck was the necessary current of the river that pushed you away from the false shore and toward your true destination. Amor Fati is the ultimate withdrawal of projection. You no longer project your shadow onto others as enemies. You no longer project your anima onto others as saviors. And you no longer project your idea of good or bad onto fate itself. You stop seeing your life as a poorly written story that needs to be fixed or redeemed. You see it as a perfect divine text, a personal myth, where every single word, every comma, every terrifying chapter belongs. This is the final reconciliation. It is what happens when you have truly held the tension of the opposites. You realize that your freedom and your destiny are the same thing. Your destiny is the river. Your freedom is the love of the river. This state of being changes everything. It ends the war. When you love your fate, you are no longer a victim of it. You are a co-creator. You are no longer fighting the current. You are dancing with it. You are the navigator who, instead of cursing the wind, has learned to set the sail to use the wind, no matter which way it blows. It is the final yes to existence. It is the realization that your life, with all its imperfections, could not have been any other way, and that it is in its totality a work of art. Death as transformation. In our modern world, we have exiled death. We treat it as a medical failure, a taboo, a final, horrifying end to consciousness. We hide it away. We deny its existence. We build our personas on the idea of accumulation, of permanent success, of endless growth. But the psyche does not tolerate this denial. The unconscious knows the truth, and it speaks of it every single night in our dreams. Jung saw that death in the map of the soul is not an end. It is perhaps the single most important process of life. It is the archetype of transformation. It is the engine of individuation. Your dreams are full of death. You dream of yourself dying. You dream of loved ones dying. You dream of funerals, of decaying houses, of turning leaves. Your ego, terrified, wakes you in a cold sweat.
This is a bad omen. But the self is not speaking of literal physical death, it is speaking of psychic death. It is telling you in the only language it knows that a part of you must die so that a new part of you can be born. This is the alchemical Negredo and putrefactio, the rotting, the dissolution, the death of the old. Your fate is not a single linear path, it is a series of deaths and rebirths. To move from one stage of life to the next, a part of your identity must die. The persona of the dutiful child must die for the individual of the adult to be born. The persona of the striving, successful professional must die for the sage of the elder to emerge. And if you refuse this death, if you cling to the old identity, the old mask, the old stage of life, long after the soul has demanded you move on,
that is when your fate becomes a tragedy. You become a living ghost, a Puer Aeternus, the eternal child who refuses to grow. You haunt a life that is no longer yours. Your life becomes stagnant, hollow, meaningless. The psyche will then force the death upon you. It will be fated from the outside. You will be fired from the job you refuse to leave. The relationship you refuse to transform will collapse. The world will burn down your old identity because you refuse to let it die gracefully. This is the central lesson of the Opus, the great work. Transformation is not self-improvement. Self-improvement is the ego adding new paint to the old rotting house. Transformation is death. It is bulldozing the house and building a new one. It requires a funeral. It requires grief. You must grieve the ghost of the unlived life, the death of the potential you thought you had, to make space for the destiny that is actually waiting. To consciously participate in your fate is to become a master of death. It is to have the courage to ask, what part of me needs to die today? It is to willingly, mindfully, let go of the old skin, the old story, the old self, to allow the new, more authentic self to emerge. It is the ultimate act of trust in the self, that every death is a doorway and every end is a fated, necessary, and beautiful beginning. The collective unconscious in the world. We have spoken of the psyche as a personal map, an inner world. But Jung's most vast concept is that this inner world is not, in fact, inner at all. Or at least it is not yours. You do not have an unconscious. You are in the unconscious. You are a single fish with your small conscious ego swimming in a single vast species-wide ocean. This is the collective unconscious. It is the shared psychic bedrock of all humanity, across all places, across all of time. It is the repository of all human experience, the memories of the species that we spoke of as archetypes. This is not just a psychological theory, it is a theory of reality, and it explains the largest, most mysterious movements of our fate. Why do civilizations rise and fall in the same patterns? Why do the same myths, the same gods, the same symbols appear in cultures that had no contact with each other? Why, at certain moments in history, does a madness seem to seize an entire nation, a zeitgeist, a spirit of the times? This, Jung said, is the collective unconscious moving. It is an archetype possessing the collective. The archetype of the warrior or the shadow can seize a whole nation and lead it into a world war. The archetype of the trickster can emerge and shatter all of an old generation's sacred beliefs. Your personal destiny is inextricably woven into this collective fate. You are not just a fish, you are a fish in a current, and sometimes the entire ocean is moving. Think of your own life. Are your anxieties yours? Is your depression yours? Or are you a canary in the coal mine? Are you a sensitive individual, feeling the sickness of the times before others do? Are you unconsciously living out the unhealed trauma of your ancestors, a fate passed down in your family line, a ghost in your family's psyche? This is the ocean that can flood the island of your ego. Jung believed that the only defense against being swept away by a collective archetypal madness is individuation. It is the work of becoming conscious of your own inner archetypes, your own shadow, your own personal myth. The person who has done their inner work, who is anchored in their own self, is no longer a puppet of the collective. They are no longer possessed by the spirit of the times. They may be in the current, but they are not of the current. They have built their boat. They have an anchor. This is the ultimate political act for Jung. To save the world, you must first save yourself. You must do the inner work. You must withdraw your projections from the other side. You must integrate your own shadow so you are not adding its darkness to the world's. Your personal fate, your individuation, is not a selfish act. It is your sacred moral responsibility to the whole. It is the only way to bring a single point of light into the vast, collective darkness. The inner call. Before the journey even begins, there is a knock on the door. It is a quiet feeling at first, a restlessness, a subtle, aching sense of wrongness. You are successful, perhaps. You have the life you were told you should want. The persona is perfect, the mask is polished, you have checked all the boxes, and yet, in the silence, when the applause fades, you feel empty. You feel like an imposter in your own life. You feel a strange, hollow homesickness, even though you are home. This feeling, this summons, is the inner call. It is the voice of yourself, the greater, wiser totality, signaling to your small, comfortable ego that it is time. It is time for the journey of individuation. It is time for the old self to die. It is the call to abandon the false, collective destiny of the persona and to embark on the terrifying, lonely path of your true personal destiny. The call often comes through negative symptoms. It comes as depression. It comes as anxiety. It comes as a profound loss of meaning, a dark night of the soul. The ego thinks this is an illness to be cured. It runs to the doctor, it seeks a pill, it tries to silence the symptom. But the symptom is not the illness. The symptom is the call. The illness is the false life you are living. The self is making your comfortable, inauthentic life so unbearable that you are forced to change. It is an act of tough love from your own soul. The call can also come from the outside. It can be a fated event, a sudden loss, a betrayal, a rock-bottom moment, a synchronistic encounter that shatters your old worldview. It is the call to adventure from mythology. The old familiar world is broken. You are being invited or thrown into the dark, unknown forest, and you have a choice. This is perhaps the most important choice of your life. You can refuse the call. Millions do. It is too scary. It costs too much. It means disappointing everyone. It means letting the perfect life die. So you numb yourself. You double down on your persona. You distract yourself with work, with addiction, with noise. You kill the messenger, and your life becomes a wasteland. You become the living ghost, bitter, resentful, hollow. Or you can answer the call. You can say yes to the unknown. You can turn, face the dark forest, and take the first, trembling step. This yes is the moment your true destiny begins. It is the moment you agree to the Opus, the great work. It is the moment you begin the terrifying, beautiful work of becoming who you were always meant to be. The entire journey, the shadow, the anima, the opposites, the symbols, it all begins with this one simple world-ending yes. The pure Aeternus, the eternal child. But what if you refuse the call? What if the forest is too dark, the comfort of the known too sweet? This is the archetype of the pure Aeternus, the eternal child. It is the Peter Pan of the psyche. It is the refusal to grow up, the refusal to commit, the refusal to accept the sacred burden of a single destiny. This archetype is seductive. It lives in a world of infinite, shimmering potential. It is the brilliant 20-something who could be a great artist, a great writer, a great entrepreneur. He could be anything. And so he chooses to be nothing. He remains in the attic, dreaming, planning, starting projects, but never finishing them. Why? because to finish something, to choose one path, is to kill all the other possibilities. To choose one woman is to kill the possibility of all other women. To choose one career is to kill all the other potential selves. The Puer lives in a state of provisional living. His real life has not started yet. It will start tomorrow. It will start when he's ready, when the perfect opportunity arrives, when he finds himself. But tomorrow never comes. The Puer is often, paradoxically, bound to a mother archetype, either his literal mother or a mother complex within his own mind. It is a golden cage, a state of protected, suffocating comfort that prevents him from taking the painful, necessary step into his own life. His fate is to be unfated. His destiny is the refusal of destiny. He is the living ghost of the unlived life we will soon explore. He is the ultimate enemy of individuation, which demands embodiment, commitment, and the death of potential in exchange for the birth of reality. The tragedy of the Puer Aeternus is not that he fails, it is that he never even tries. He stands at the edge of the river of life, endlessly dipping his toe in, admiring the water, talking about swimming, but never, ever plunging in. He is terrified of the current. And so, time passes. The brilliant potential of youth fades. The attic becomes a prison. The shimmering possibilities curdle into bitter resentment. He becomes the Senex, the bitter, cynical, rigid old man who rails against a world that never gave him a chance. He is the ghost at his own funeral, mourning a life he refused to live. This is the fated path of non-commitment. To choose potential over reality is itself a choice, and it is, perhaps, the most tragic destiny of all. It is the slow, painless, comfortable suffocation of the soul which was calling all along for the one thing the Puer fears most, a real, messy, imperfect, finite life. The ghost of the unlived life. Whether you are the pure, the eternal child, or the person who did everything right, the one who took the safe path, the one who married the right person, the one who climbed the right ladder, there is a companion that walks with you. It is the ghost of the life you didn't live. It is the specter of the you that could have been. It is the echo of the inner call you ignored. Jungian analyst Robert A. Johnson spoke of this profound collective haunting. This ghost is not just your own unchosen potential. It is also the unlived life of your ancestors. It is the music your grandfather never played because he had to work the fields. It is the art your mother never made because she was told to be a good wife. It is the love your parents never expressed. This is a fated inheritance. These unlived potentials do not simply disappear. They are passed down unconsciously as a psychic debt, and they land on you. You are haunted by a strange, inexplicable longing, a melancholy, a restlessness. You may find yourself inexplicably called to a profession, a place, or a creative act that makes no logical sense for your life. You are being pushed not just by your own self, but by the unfulfilled destiny of your lineage. They are whispering from the collective unconscious, "Live for us, do what we could not." This is a heavy, often crushing burden, but there is a second ghost. This one is yours. It is the life you chose not to live, or the life the Puer refuses to choose. It is the artist you abandoned to become a lawyer. It is the lover you left for the safe marriage. It is the path of individuation you refused when the call came, and this ghost is angry. It does not go away. It stands behind your shoulder, and it sabotages the life you chose. It is the source of your inexplicable depression. It is the engine of your midlife crisis. It is the reason your perfect life feels like a hollow cage. The ghost wants your attention. It wants to be acknowledged. It wants to be mourned. The work here is not to live that ghost life. You cannot go back. The lawyer cannot, at 50, simply throw it all away and become the artist he should have been. That is another fantasy. The work is to integrate the ghost. It is to turn around consciously and face it, to grieve it, to acknowledge the loss, to feel the profound aching sorrow of that death, and then to find a way to honor that ghost within the life you have now. The lawyer must find a way to bring the soul of the artist, the creativity, the passion, the authenticity into his law practice, or he must make a real, sacred space for it in his current life. If you do not, your fate is to be torn apart. You will be haunted forever by the destiny you abandoned, a ghost pulling you backward, while your hollow life pulls you forward until you are torn in two. The Daemon, the inner spirit. Where does the inner call come from? What is this voice that knows your true destiny even when you do not? Jung, borrowing from the ancient Greeks, pointed to a concept that is not an archetype, not a complex, but something more personal and more mysterious, the daemon. The Greeks did not see this as a demon in the Christian sense. They saw it as an inner spirit, a divine attendant, a genius that was assigned to you at birth. It is the carrier of your destiny. It is the blueprint of the oak tree held within the acorn. The daemon knows the person you are meant to be. It holds the image of your individuated self, and its entire purpose is to guide you, push you, pull you, and sometimes force you toward the realization of that image. The daemon is not your ego. Your ego wants comfort, safety, and social approval. Your daemon wants wholeness. It wants you to fulfill your opus, your great work, and it is utterly, ruthlessly indifferent to your ego's comfort. This is the source of the profound inner conflict that defines a meaningful life. Your ego is building its safe, comfortable house, the persona, but the daemon knows you are meant to be an explorer. So the daemon will call you with that restless, homesick feeling. If you ignore the call, the daemon will whisper to you in dreams. If you ignore the dreams, the daemon will shout at you through synchronicity. If you ignore the synchronicities, the daemon will seize your life. It will conspire with the unconscious to burn your safe house down. It will engineer the fated crisis. It will collaborate with your shadow to sabotage your persona. It will trigger your complexes. It will make your safe life so agonizingly painful that you have no choice but to turn toward the path it has chosen. This is what Jungian writer James Hillman called the soul's code. Your fate is not a punishment. It is the calling of your daemon. The bad luck, the crises, the dark nights. These are not mistakes. They are course corrections. They are the daemon's tough love, grabbing you by the shoulders and shaking you, screaming, "You are going the wrong way." To be happy in the ego sense is often to be out of touch with your daemon. To be in the work of individuation is to be in a constant, difficult, but profoundly alive dialogue with this inner spirit. It is the difference between a life of comfort and a life of meaning. The daemon does not care if you are happy, it cares if you are real. It is the ultimate author of your personal myth. Your destiny is not something you find in the world, it is something you are. It is the acorn becoming the oak, and the daemon is the invisible, internal, and inescapable force of that becoming. Your only choice is whether you will go willingly or whether you will be dragged. The Psychopomp, the guide of souls. When you are lost in the forest of your life, when the night falls and your rational map becomes useless, you believe you are alone. The ego, in its pride, insists that it must find the way out. It rifles through your memories, your logic, your 5-year plans, trying to fix the feeling of being lost. But the ego cannot navigate this terrain. The ego is what is lost. It is in this moment of surrender, when you finally admit your powerlessness, that a guide may appear. This is the archetype of the Psychopomp, the guide of souls. In ancient mythology, it has many names. It is Hermes, the god of boundaries, the only one who could travel freely from Olympus, consciousness, to Hades, the unconscious, and back. It is Charon, the ferryman who transports souls across the river Styx. It is the angel, the daemon, the talking bird in the fairy tale, the wise wolf in the woods. In the Psyche, the Psychopomp is the function that guides us through the dangerous transitions of life, especially the transition from the light of consciousness into the darkness of the unconscious and the transition from psychic death to rebirth. This guide is often not what you expect. It is rarely a heroic shining figure. The guide to the unconscious is often itself a creature of the shadow. It may be a figure that frightens you. It may be an animal in your dream that unnerves you. It may be a real person in your life, a stranger who appears by chance, says the one sentence you needed to hear, a sentence that shatters your reality, and then vanishes from your life forever. It is a personification of the self, a part of your own totality that knows the way, because it is the way. The ego cannot summon the psychopomp. The ego must wait for it. The suffering, the feeling of being stuck, the Negredo, the darkness we will speak of, is the call. It is the summoning ritual. The guide only appears to the one who admits they are lost. The work then becomes an act of faith. It is the act of trusting this irrational guide. The psychopomp may ask you to do something your ego considers madness. It may ask you to leave the secure job. It may ask you to trust a dream. It may ask you to sit in the silence of your pain rather than run from it. To follow this guide is what it means to live the symbolic life. You are handing the reins of your destiny not to random chaos, but to a deeper, older intelligence within you. The psychopomp is the function that makes the Red Book journey possible. It is Dante's Virgil, the guide through the inferno. Without it, the ego would be consumed by madness, flooded by the unconscious. The guide is your anchor, your protection. It is the proof that even in the most absolute darkness, you are not abandoned. Your destiny is not just a plan, it is a guided journey, and your only task in this moment is to become quiet enough to hear its footsteps and to find the courage to follow. The Negredo, the darkening. Modern society has taught us to seek the light, be positive, conquer the darkness, find happiness. We have become addicted to the light, to success, to the polished persona, and in doing so, we have become deeply, pathologically terrified of the dark. But what if your destiny, your gold, is not found in the light? What if your transformation, your true self, can only be found in the absolute pitch black, darker than dark night? This is the Negredo. It is the alchemical term for the first and most terrifying phase of the great work. It means the blackening. It is the stage of dissolution, of putrefactio, rotting, of chaos. It is the moment when the raw material, yourself, is put into the alchemical vessel and burned to ash. Psychologically, this is the dark night of the soul. And it is not just a bad day, a bad week, or a funk. It is the total collapse of your world of meaning. It is the moment your persona shatters. The job that defined you is lost. The relationship that was your identity dissolves. The beliefs that held you up are revealed as false. It is rock bottom. You are not just sad. You are disintegrated. You do not know who you are anymore. The light is gone. There is no direction. There is no hope. This, to the alchemist and to Jung, is not an error. It is not a psychiatric failure. It is the necessary and fated beginning of the entire process. You cannot build the new, the gold, the self, on the rotten foundations of the old, the persona, the unexamined life. The old must be dissolved. It must be reduced to its prima materia, its first matter, its undifferentiated sludge. You must become nothing before you can become whole. The Daemon, your inner spirit, often engineers the Negredo. It creates the crisis that burns your false life to the ground, because it knows it is the only way you will be forced to build the true one. This is the psychic death we have spoken of. It is the ghost of the unlived life finally burning down the house. The modern world will tell you to fix the Negredo. Cheer up. Take a pill. Think positive. But the alchemical wisdom says the opposite. Stay in it. Endure. Do not flee. Do not try to fix it prematurely with a new persona. Sit in the fire. Sit in the dark. This is the most courageous act. It is the sacred patience of allowing the rot to do its work. It is trusting that this chaos is not meaningless. It is the necessary breakdown. It is the death of your false destiny, so that your true destiny can emerge from the ashes. The darkness is not the end of your journey. It is the condition for it. The gold can only be created from this fertile black soil. The wounded healer archetype. Now, look at your deepest wound. Do not look away. That place in you that is broken, that trauma, that shame, that chronic inadequacy, that pain you carry, that you would give anything to cut out of your life. What if that is not your curse? What if that is your vocation? What if your highest destiny is hidden precisely inside your deepest pain? This is the paradox of the wounded healer archetype. The origin of this concept is the Greek myth of Chiron, the centaur. Chiron was the greatest healer, the wisest teacher, the mentor of heroes, and yet he suffered from an incurable, agonizing wound, a poisoned arrow that struck him by accident. His greatest wisdom, his deepest compassion, his greatest ability to heal others came precisely from the fact that he could not heal himself and do it. He knew the anatomy of pain from the inside out. This is the secret of your destiny. Your great work, your purpose in the world, is not found in spite of your wound. It is found because of it. The wound is the door. It is the crack in your perfect persona that allows the light and the darkness of the self to shine through. It is your authorization. The perfect, unwounded person, if such a person even exists, has nothing to say. They live in a sterile, shallow, two-dimensional world. But the person who has been wounded, the person who has survived the Negredo, the person who knows their own abyss, that person has authority. They know the map of the underworld because they live there. Your destiny is not to fix the wound. The wound often is incurable. It is part of your structure. Your destiny is to transcend it. It is to find the meaning in it. It is to stop treating it as your personal shame and to start seeing it as your sacred connection to humanity. It is the moment the therapist realizes he was drawn to his vocation because of his own family trauma. It is the artist whose most profound work is born from her melancholy. It is the teacher who dedicates himself to the lost student because he was that student. This is the alchemical turn. You stop asking the universe, why me, why this pain? And you finally understand the answer. Oh, that's why. The wound that isolated you from the world becomes the gift you offer to the world. You become a healer not because you are perfect or fixed, but because you are wounded. You can sit with another's pain without trying to fix it, because you know your own pain is your deepest teacher. Your destiny is not to erase your wound. Your destiny is to offer it. Your greatest poison becomes your greatest medicine. The Numinosum encounter. There are moments that break reality, moments that do not fit your script, an experience so profound, so overwhelming, so completely other that your rational mind freezes. It is not a thought. It is a presence, a feeling of awe, of terror, of an absolute, undeniable reality that imposes itself upon you. Jung borrowed a term from the theologian Rudolf Otto to describe this, the Numinosum. It is the mysterium tremendum et fascinans, the terrifying and fascinating mystery. It is the raw, direct, unfiltered experience of the divine, the holy, the archetype, the self. This is not a nice spiritual feeling. It is not peace or calm or bliss. It is a shock. It is the burning bush. It is the UFO sighting. It is the overwhelming synchronicity, like Jung's golden scarab. It is the moment in active imagination when the figure inside you says something so profound, you know you could not have made it up. It is the moment the ocean of the collective unconscious floods the small island of your ego. The ego cannot handle this experience. It shatters the persona. It defies all logic. It is irrational, and it is real. In fact, it feels more real than normal reality. This is the self in its full blazing power, making itself known to the ego. It is the inner call, not as a whisper, but as a thunderclap, and we are terrified of it. Our modern, rational, secular world has no place for the Numinosum. We pathologize it, psychosis, or dismiss it, hallucination, neural misfire. But Jung insisted that the inability to have this experience is the true sickness of the modern soul. We are starved for the numinous. We are living in a disenchanted world, and our souls are starving. We are trying to find this overwhelming feeling in profane places, in addictions, in fanaticism, in faded relationships, because we need to feel it. An encounter with the Numinosum changes your destiny instantly. It is the conversion experience. It reorients your entire life. You know from that moment on that the map is real. You know the self is real. You know that your small, rational life is not the whole story. You cannot seek the Numinosum. You cannot plan it or manifest it. It happens to you. It is an act of grace, or it is an act of fated intrusion. It is destiny knocking your door down, and after it has entered, you are never, ever the same. Your fate is sealed because you have finally seen the author. The telos of the psyche. Why are you here? You have been taught to answer this question from the past. You are the product of your childhood. You are the result of your trauma. You are a complex machine of cause and effect. Your fate in this model is just the inevitable mechanical unfolding of what has already happened. Your past is your destiny. But what if this is only half the story? What if, as Jung insisted, you are not just being pushed by the past, but you are also being pulled by the future? This is the ancient philosophical concept of telos. It is the idea that everything in nature has an end, a purpose, a goal, a final cause for which it exists. The telos of an acorn is the oak tree. The acorn is not pushed by a memory of a previous oak. It is pulled toward the image of the oak tree it is meant to become. Jung applied this radical idea to the human psyche. He argued that the psyche is teleological. It is not just a slate written on by your personal history. It is a seed, and it holds the complete pre-existing blueprint of your future, individuated self. This is the Daemon we spoke of. This is the self. Your destiny is not a random path you are walking. It is a magnetic pull from a you that already exists in potential. Your inner call is not a random wish. It is the telos, the image of your whole future self, calling back to your present tense ego, whispering, "This way, come home." This idea shatters the modern model of trauma. The modern view says you are broken because of your past. The teleological view says your psyche chose this wound, this Negredo, this precise set of fated difficulties, because it is the exact curriculum you need to force you to grow into the oak tree you were meant to be. The trauma is not the cause of your fate. It is the tool of your telos. The telos is the reason you are restless. It is the source of the divine dissatisfaction. Your ego is building a comfortable, safe life, but the telos knows you are meant to be an oak tree, and it will not let you be happy as a bonsai. It will make you miserable in your safe life. It is the inner call. It is the numinosum. It is the organizing intelligence behind your dreams, sending you images not just of your past wounds, but of your future wholeness. When you follow the symbol, you are not just processing your past. You are following the scent of your telos. This is the ultimate hidden revelation. Your fate is not behind you. It is in front of you. It is not a sentence you are serving from your past. It is a summons from your future. This realization brings an immense sense of peace and an immense sense of responsibility. It means that nothing in your life was wrong. Nothing was a mistake. Your fate was not bad luck. It was all school. It was all the perfect, handcrafted, and necessary resistance to make your roots grow deep, to make your branches strong, to shape you into the self you were always, always meant to be. The Unus Mundus, one world. We have on this journey drawn a line between two worlds, the inner world of the psyche, the dreams, the archetypes, the self, and the outer world of reality, the job, the relationship, the fated event that happens to you. But what if that line does not exist? What if it is the final illusion of the ego? In his later life, working with the quantum physicist Wolfgang Pauli, Jung touched on his most metaphysical, most mind-bending concept. He reached for an ancient alchemical idea, the Unus Mundus, the one world. This is the theory of a single, underlying, unified reality that is beneath both mind and matter. It is the source code of the universe. In this one world, psyche and physis, matter, are not two different things. They are two different expressions of the same one thing. Psyche is matter. Matter is psyche. This is the ultimate map of the soul. It is the moment the map becomes the territory. And this, Jung proposed, is the source of synchronicity. A synchronistic event is not your inner mind influencing the outer world. It is a moment where the one world, the underlying unified field, expresses itself simultaneously in both realms. The inner dream of the scarab beetle and the outer event of the real beetle are not causally linked. They are one event, emerging from the Unus Mundus to deliver a single, profound, meaningful message. This is the machinery of your fate. Your destiny is not just an inner psychological script, it is an inner-outer totality. The Daemon, your inner spirit, is not just in your head, it is also in the world. It is the fated event. It is the chance encounter. It is the bad luck. The outer world is not a backdrop for your inner journey. The outer world is your inner journey, made visible. Your life is your dream. You are not just dreaming at night. You are dreaming right now. This objective reality is the slow-moving, symbolic, collective dream of the one world. When you do your inner work, when you integrate your shadow, when you dialogue with your anima, you are not just changing your mind. You are, in a very real metaphysical sense, changing the code. You are changing the dream. You are healing your corner of the Unus Mundus. When you become whole, individuated, the outer world must reflect that change. The fated negative patterns stop, not because you manifested a new reality, but because you healed the inner archetype that was co-creating that reality with the outer world. This is the final staggering implication. Your personal myth is not just your myth, it is the one world's myth being told through you. Your fate is not what happens to you. It is what the universe is doing as you. You are not just a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean, expressing itself for a single brief, beautiful moment as a single finite drop. The Opus, the great work. And so we arrive at the end, which is, of course, the beginning. We have walked the map of the soul, we have faced the archetypes, we have descended into the shadow, we have withdrawn the projections of the Anima and Animus, we have seen the prison of the persona, we have heard the inner call, we have sat in the fire of the opposites and in the darkness of the Negredo, we have met the ghost of the life we did not live, we have been guided by the Psychopomp, we have been healed by our own wound. We have been pulled by the Telos. We have touched the one world. What now? What is the point of all this? The alchemists called it the Opus, the great work. Jung adopted this term for the entire lifelong, sacred, and agonizingly difficult journey of individuation. It is the work. It is the only work. It is the art of all arts. It is the process of consciously, deliberately participating in your own destiny. The opus is the making of a soul. You are not given a soul. You are given a psyche, a raw, chaotic, contradictory mess of complexes, archetypes, and potential. Your work is to take this prima materia, this raw stuff of your life, your trauma, your gifts, your wounds, your fate, and put it into the alchemical vessel of your conscious awareness. And then you hold the tension. You suffer the process. You apply the fire of your conscious attention. You die the psychic deaths. You grieve the ghosts. You partner with the daemon. You alchemically separate the false, the persona, from the true, the self. You recombine the opposites, light and dark, masculine and feminine. You endure this for a lifetime. And in the end, if you are diligent, if you are courageous, if you do not flee the fire,
You produce the lapis, the philosopher's stone. This is not a thing. It is not happiness. It is not perfection. It is the self, fully realized. It is the oak tree that was always latent in the acorn. It is the state of wholeness. It is the human being who is no longer divided against himself. He has embraced his shadow. He has integrated his other. He is individual. He has become his own fate. This is the ultimate destiny. It is not something you get in the end. The opus itself is the destiny. The journey was the destination. The work was the point. Your fate was not the set of external circumstances that happened to you. Your fate was the invitation to do the great work. And the final, beautiful, and most liberating revelation is this. The gold you were searching for, the meaning you were so desperate to find, was you all along. You are the opus. You are the great work. You are the philosopher's stone. You are the meaning you have been waiting for. Not many reach the end awake. Leave a single word that defines this journey and share it with someone who might need to hear it tonight.